Hi, this is Matt Robertson, and welcome to the Team Roping channel. Today we're going to watch some rodeo runs, and we're going to talk about the best possible strategy for making the NFR. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I get this question a lot on the trail, and kind of always catches me off guard, and there's a lot of different things to cover. So hopefully this video will do that and answer a lot of these questions and help a lot of these kids and young men or even women to make the finals. So number one, you're going to have to get as good as possible as early as possible. There has been some people that have made it a little bit later in the game or started a little bit later, and that's fine as long as you don't get some bad habits, but you definitely want to get as early of a start as possible. And you also want to be as dedicated to the game as much as possible. If you're not really sure about roping, you don't really like it, and you're 19, 20 years old or in your teens, then you might not have enough stamina to really make the finals. So keep that in mind right off the bat and try to be real with yourself. Number one, you're going to have to get as good as possible. When I was 17 years old, I told myself that I had 1 year before I had to compete against Clay O'Brien Cooper, Alan Bach, and Corey Coots. And I did not look at the people around Montana. I really wanted to focus on the best in the world and try to compare myself with them. And I'm really glad that I did. It kind of gave me a little edge to get better and motivate myself. And also, if you're dominating, say at the high school rodeos or some of the little local jackpots, please enter something a little bigger, a little tougher, and push yourself. Just because if you're winning some of them smaller, easier ones, that's definitely going to hold you back, and it's definitely not going to help you in the long run. And also, when you get beat or have a bad day, or you see another roper that's roping better than you and out-ropes you, I know it can get really frustrating. It can make you mad, but use that for fuel to take action and get to the practice pen and work on your weaknesses. And it's okay to be mad and a little bit frustrated, but take it out on getting better. You don't get discouraged and don't quit. That does separate the winners from the losers, and hopefully you'll be a winner and keep on trying to get better and work yourself to a better level. A lot of times when you make mistakes and you have a bad day, those are the days you learn the most, and those are the days that you see the biggest increase in your roping. So don't get mad on those days. Get kind of excited and take action and get after it. Use the Tom Brady rule, and I know a lot of people don't like him, but he is one of the best of all time, especially at this time and day. And and he always said, if you make a mistake, fix it, and fix it so well that you know that you're not going to do it again, and then leave it behind you. So it's okay to make mistakes. Everybody does. In fact, the people that make the most mistakes should learn the most, but some people are kind of naive and not very open-minded, and they don't really get better. So please don't be one of those people. Also, if you're feeling non-confident, don't use false confidence. If you're feeling some doubt about your roping, take action, get after it, and get so good that you have real confidence and you know that you're where you should be. So please, anything that you can to use fuel to get better, use it. All right, so now that you've kind of got where you're competing and you're winning and things are looking pretty good, a good rule of thumb is if you're going to start out on the rodeo trail and try to make the NFR for your first year, you better be at least a 7-header or a 9 heeler or higher. Anything less than that, you're rolling the dice pretty hard, and you might get beat pretty badly. And there has been some exceptions of people who've made it with lesser numbers, but it's not very often. And it's kind of the same guys that make the finals over and over again with just a couple newcomers. So, make sure that if you're going to try to make the NFR, at least be a 7 or a 9. Also, try to enter your circuit rodeos, amateur rodeos, and if you're doing really good at those, then you should probably go to Texas and try going to the jackpots and rodeos there. And if you can beat those Texas boys, you're getting pretty close to a spot where you can be pretty confident to, be on the rodeo trail and do pretty well. So, Texas is kind of that last stop that you go to and see if you've got what it takes. And during this whole thing, you need to find like an older pro, somebody that you can count on for good advice, at least for the first, 5 or 6 years. Some NFR guys use somebody all through their career. We don't really have roping coaches out there, but we kind of should. And the good thing is there's a lot of them out there that will give good free advice and help you out. So that's been one of the biggest problems in my careers. I never really went to an NFR guy and asked for help and asked for strategy and asked what things that I could work on, what my faults were and my weaknesses, and find somebody that was super honest and just wasn't telling me what I wanted to hear. And if you can get somebody like that will answer some questions and get you pointed in the right direction, there's no use reinventing the wheel and trying to do something that they've already figured out. So, find a good old pro that can help you out and get you pointed in the right direction. So if you're getting ready to go rodeo, you're going to need a good partner. This can be really tricky. This can be tough. A lot of people, if you haven't been out there on the rodeo trail, you're not going to get anybody to rope with you. I promise you that. You have to be out there, get seen, kind of get some respect from the other ropers and pay your dues a little bit. And you're going to have to probably rope with some people you don't really want to rope with right up front. If you're a header, you don't really need the best heeler. If you're spinning steers right there where everybody else is and getting out good and reaching and sticking it on them, those pro guys, they're going to start noticing pretty fast. So, getting it as a header, it's not really that important to get a super good heeler. But if you're a heeler, you do need to get steers spun for you. And it's better to get somebody who's more of a catcher that might spin them a little bit too slow than a guy that's going to miss 5 or 6 out of 7. So try to find someone that you can show off on as a heeler, and then while you're out there and kind of get some notice and get some credibility, and that will really help you get noticed. And then once you've been out there, you got some street cred and people kind of know who you are, then you can go ahead and make a list of all the people that you want to rope with. And while you're out there trying to get your street cred, try to pay attention to the ropers that you would like to rope with and who has the same lifestyle choices and goals that you have. And, obviously you're not going to get some of the top 5 or 6 NFR guys, or maybe even any of the NFR guys. But, find a reasonable point where you can start asking people to rope and then work your way down. And that way you're always guaranteed to get the best partner that you could have at that time and place. Also, try to, don't be ashamed if somebody says no, and don't feel let down. A lot of times if you ask somebody to rope and they say no, they're going to start watching you more closely, and they know that this kid, has the guts to ask, and he might actually be pretty good, and we'll keep an eye out on him. So it's kind of a good way to get noticed. Even though, they might say no, at least they'll start watching you. And also when you're out there making your list, try to find somebody that's, not on alcohol or drugs or kind of burnt out or hates the game and stuff like that. They might kind of put a bad taste in your mouth and try to convince you to quit and that rodeo's terrible and things like that. Unfortunately, a lot of older pros, when they start to reach the end of their career, they start to do that. And you just got to be careful. I mean, you're young, and hopefully the game will keep getting better. And maybe by the time you get out there, rodeo will pay a lot more and be a lot better. So try to keep that in mind. Also, you're going to have to go through different partners to get better. You're going to have to cut a few people, and whenever you cut somebody, make sure that you're cutting them for somebody that's quite a bit better than the person you have. You shouldn't ever really just cut somebody who's about the same as your old partner. Try to always move up. And unfortunately, if you ever do have a chance to move up noticeably, and even if you're good friends with your old partner, you're going to have to cut that friend and get farther ahead. I know it sounds cold, but you got to do what's best for you and best for your career, and it's not personal. Usually cutting your partner hopefully never is personal. And always do it with grace, and tell them you're sorry it didn't work out, and you guys were hoping for the best, and maybe someday down the trail things will change and you guys will rope again. So try not to burn bridges, and try to do things as professionally and nicely as you possibly can when it comes to cutting old ropers, and never badmouth old ropers or anybody for that matter. I've known some NFR guys even that really badmouth their partners all the time, and now they can't get anybody to hardly rope with them because they've got such a reputation of being a badmouther, and nobody wants to get badmouthed behind their back. So don't think you're advertising that you're roping great and your partner's roping terrible and you're looking for a run by running your other partner down. So please try to stay away from that trap. It's really easy to get into. And if you're going to get started out on the rodeo trail, you're going to need at least, $10,000 to $20,000 cash to start out with, and have as little payments as you possibly can. That's one of the biggest things that holds a lot of young ropers back. Really try hard not to max out credit cards. You're going to have to pay them son of the guns off someday anyway. So, those things can be a real trap. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of ropers really fall down the rabbit hole on credit cards. And you can try to find sponsors, if you got some connections and you got some people that might help you out. One great way to get sponsors is make a deal with them. Tell them that if they pay your fees, fuel, and food, you'll give them your winnings of whatever you win in the PRCA or jackpots or whatever. And sometimes that's a little bit sweeter deal that will help sponsors get you down the road. Your main concern is to get going and started and try to get things done as cheap as possible. And, it's tough when you can only go to 10 or 15 rodeos and you run out of money. So, it's really hard for a rookie or somebody new on the trail to get through those first 15 rodeos and still have enough money to keep going for the rest of the year. So try to make sure you take care of your finances and only spend money on what you need, and you work hard for that money, and your sponsors have worked hard for that money, and don't spend it too much. Really try to stay ahead. Also, you're going to need at least 2 great horses. This has actually cost me from making the finals, where I only had one old horse when I was heading for Chase Tryon in 2010. We were setting really good, and he blew his deep flexor tendon, and I didn't have anything for backup, and I went and bought some other horses and tried to make it and didn't do very well at all. So, you need at least 2 good horses that you compete on, and you might even need some other ones you're definitely going to need like a practice horse if you're a header, maybe 2 heelers. It's nice to have a young up-and-coming horse, and that can teach you how to be a better horseman and keep moving forward. So you're going to need a good lineup of horses. And also, when you're out on the rodeo trail, really try to practice as much as you can in between rodeos. A lot of people like to kick back and soak up the sun and sleep and not do anything on those days off in between. But if you're going to be a real mover and shaker, you got to go find a place to practice and free your horses up, get them scoring good, get them making the corner good, get them stopping good. And you don't want to make too many runs on your good rodeo horses. They're going to need days off as well, for sure. But if you can make anywhere from 4 to 7 runs on them, make all them runs count, and really try hard to do a good job taking care of them. Make sure they always have stalls and shavings and a place to lay down. And I've seen a lot of really nice horses that get started on the rodeo trail, and about a month in, they've just lost quite a bit of energy. And you can do things to really help them and keep them going good, and really watch out, make sure that your vet's taking care of them, they're shod correctly, and do everything you can. Also, when you're competing, be smart, do all the things that you can to control what you can control, because there's a lot of things out there that you cannot control. So, make lists of the steers, really try to find out what steer you've got drawn. Every run counts at these rodeos, jackpots, and practice. Treat making the finals like you would if you were a professional athlete in the NFL or the NBA. Dedicate your every day you can to getting better and getting closer to your goal. And, work hard and, rest hard. You're going to need days off too. You're going to need to go have some fun, and you don't want to burn yourself out. But, You got to be smart about it and make sure that you are putting all your efforts and everything you can into getting better. And, try to get a good night's sleep whenever possible. I know it's not always easy. If you got another team roping partner, really try to take turns and be fair and do things right. A lot of times you can partner up with another team, have 4 guys going down the road. That really helps. A lot of times you can find a driver, somebody who really likes the rodeo trail and wants to watch the rodeos, and they'll go along, and you might have to pay them a little bit or quite a bit, but it might be a great way to turn around and make some more money and feel better. And also, don't go party and do drugs and be up all night and try to rope the next morning hungover, anything like that. That's just absolutely silly, and you're really not making it easy for yourself to do better. And even if you do catch in that situation, it's not going to hold up for long. And you want to keep yourself really clean and keep yourself really focused on what you want, and that's make the NFR. Sometimes you might have to sacrifice, partying and chasing girls and doing things to make the NFR. The first year I made it, I wasn't one of the best ropers out there by a long shot, but I didn't party, I didn't drink, and I dedicated every day towards making the NFR, and I felt great every morning when I roped, and I was focused, and it was one of the advantages that I truly had. And also out there on the rodeo trail, treat everybody with respect, be kind, be fun. Don't say anything bad about anybody. Be somebody that people like to hang around. It's better to be too quiet than it is to be too loud. And, don't be afraid of these big NFR guys or world champs. And they're just people too. Definitely respect the hard work and efforts they've put in to get to the top where they are, and really try to find what makes them different from the rest of the people and why they've gotten so successful. And, always try to be presentable, be dressed, whatever you can. And those things aren't super important, but hey, everything adds up. And always be reliable to your word and keep your word as much as you can. I know sometimes you get caught in some bad crossfire stuff when you're cutting partners, and you sometimes stuff on your own tongue a little bit, and it gets hard, but it's always easier to be honest and be truthful. So, and the crazy thing is that you kind of have to do all of these things, or you could really be crippling yourself to get to the finals. Unfortunately, I know a lot of really outstanding ropers that are kind of douchebags, and nobody really wants to hang out with them, and nobody wants to rope with them. Or I know people that are really good ropers but don't have really good horses. One of the things that I think really held me back is, number one, I never had really good horses in my 20s and early 30s, and that kind of held me back. And then also I was really scared to ask good ropers to rope. I think I only roped with one NFR guy after I made the finals in 2001, so I never did branch out and try to rope with better ropers. But the worst thing about myself is I was never very confident, and I was always really hard on myself, and I never thought I was good enough, and I never really gave myself a chance. So keep that in mind. You kind of have to do all these things, and if you're lacking in one area, it might hold you back to where you can't make it. Anyway, I hope these things help. I know there's a lot of other things out there that can definitely help you get to the finals, but these are the main things. And good luck out there. If you ever see me at a rodeo or a jackpot, or if you ever have any questions, just send me a message or give me a call, and if I can, I'll try to help you. But if you're ever in Bozeman, Montana in the summer, or Wickenburg, Arizona in the winter, come by and rope some and try to help you out in any way we can. So good luck down the trail. I'm excited for you if you're a young roper that's a young hopeful, and let me tell you what, making the NFR and making a living roping is definitely one of the most amazing experiences and ways of life that you can ever experience. There's a big reason why people just absolutely love the rodeo trail and love that lifestyle and love to compete. And once you've done it, it's really hard to get back to an old job and do something different. So, give it everything you got. Don't hold back, and try to do the best you can and be the best person you can and influence others to be more like you if you possibly can, and be a good example, and have faith and be as strong and productive as you possibly can. So thank you very much for listening. Sorry I talked so fast, but I was really trying to get through a lot of things, and hopefully these things really help you out. Good luck on the trail, and wish you the best. As my dad always says, rope tough.